Anyway, I am Michael T. Smith. This is the Church of, and here is your message for the week of November the 24th. Number 30, we are here. We're part 2 in a series. I'm going to give it to you very quickly since we're already running behind, but the title of this, and just be patient with me, and it just extend to me, not my first rodeo. I'll get you to where you're trying to get to. But the series is Favor, Forgiveness, and the Flow. And I know that, they should always avoid unintentional alliteration. This is not really intentional. This is just the way it came to me, the way my noodle works, the weird way that my brain works, and I pass that on to you. So favor, forgiveness, and the flow. And when you see how they go together, it's going to be transformative. I must warn you again, as I did, many of you will remember, some of you, a dear person wrote not too long ago, I guess a couple weeks ago, and says, "What is Nothing Else Matters?" And where is that? I found one. Are there more? Well, yeah, there are. So you may not know. So in Nothing Else Matters, I started out telling you the same thing that I told Connie, same thing that I told myself. This changes everything. And Connie said, "Well, yeah, I remember." We would be talking 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and she would roll over and say, "Are you awake?" And I was just. My picture of Christ was transforming, and I said, "I got something to say, but it's going to change everything." And she said, "Well, I remember when the message on the anointing came out, or I remember when the message on the blessing came out, or I remember when the message on righteousness, I remember when the message on grace came out, and it changed everything." I said, "No, what's stirring in me is going to change everything." And I'm telling you again that what we are sharing here, faith, favor, forgiveness, and the flow, is going to change everything. It's going to change you at a deep level. And what do I mean by change? I mean that you won't be able to go back to where you were before. You won't be able to ever see it the same again. And that's an interesting thing. The revelation of the Omega view, and somebody says, "What is the Omega view?" The Omega view, for lack of a perfected definition, or working definition, is, you think of the Alpha, right? The Omega, that our view at the end of whatever, at the end of our lives, in that next place, or when we finally come to see, which will really be the first time we've truly seen, the largeness that we will see at that Omega view, at the summit. There are beautiful vistas as you ascend the mountain, but the summit, right, when you get to that final view, when at last we come to see what will be the first time we've ever seen, what will our eyes behold of God? And I suspect, and I submit, and I posit, right, that the Omega, the conclusion of the thing, is parallel and related to the Alpha. That the sans cosmic love that set this thing in motion, that this thing will conclude, or at least the beginning of our ending, or the end of our beginning, will conclude with that same love. And so when I preach to you the Omega view, that it changes, here's the power that it changes. It changes because it is not false religion. And you'll know this if you've been on the NEM journey, you've been on the TCO journey, 30 weeks in. What I'm teaching you, the way you know it's not false religion, is simply that it abides. In the old thing, there was always something that had to be done. False religion has something that needs to be done today. And if not today, tomorrow. And if not tomorrow, before it's too late. And if it's ever not done, there's a breach that must be repaired and restored. And if it's not restored, there are consequences, temporal and eternal, because of that. And so the false religion, weaponized religion, does not abide. You must abide in it. You must continually reassert yourself, reinsert yourself, refashion yourself, recommit yourself. It takes something today you got to keep pedaling forever. But this you could walk away from today and never come back. But it will abide. It will abide like leavening seed. It will abide like a living word within you. And you cannot be the same again. And how do you know? Because when you go backwards, you say, "I can never go back in. I can't get my big fat foot in that in that old slipper. I just can't do it. It was making me uncomfortable. It was putting me in positions that were not natural. It was making me think things about myself and about God and about other people that go completely against everything I know to be true. And when I took that thing off, and somebody said, well, here, you want to put it back on again? I'm not interested at all. And there's no pain to endure to abide in the truth, because entering into false religion is taking us from truth and putting us into weaponized deception. But leaving that is not establishing us in something that we have to maintain, rejecting this, adhering to that, performing this, committing to that. We're stepping into the omega view, to the large truth, to the true religion, to the brute fact is that we don't have to establish ourselves in God at all. And any attempt to establish ourselves in God or to include ourselves or to sign up or join something of God is in fact a removal from God, in whom we are already, and all people are already established. So as I'm digging deeper into this study, which we'll do this yet again for us, as I'm digging deeper into this study, which I happened upon quite innocently, I happened upon this faith, favor, forgiveness, and the flow quite innocently, quite unintentionally, and I'm finding myself, let me do this real quick, I'm finding myself, because I can tell we're going to need to move through some notes. I'm going to send this to Olivia so she can start posting. Okay. Somebody say, where is she? She's right here, but I can't, just, I can't dictate it. In your notes, and you could just take, and it'll just come up in your feed there. Somebody say, I listen to it as I drive. Where are the notes? They're in the YouTube comments. They're in the feed comments. As I'm digging deeper into the study, which I came into quite unintentionally, quite innocently, I'm finding myself, and these are my transparent notes of my journaling. I put them in there for you to have. Increasingly reluctant and resistant. The deeper I go in the idea of favor, forgiveness, and the flow, I find myself increasingly reluctant to take the next step. I want to retreat from it. Increasingly resistant to taking the next step. Why? I'm reluctant and resistant. Increasingly, what? In your notes here, the seismic, tectonic shifts. Right? There are seismic. I mean, at the plate level, that it's not. This is not. Erosion that's taking place. It's not we're chopping down trees or there's a flood that's clearing a new path. This is a seismic underneath the ground on which you stand, underneath that ground, underneath that water table. There's something at the tectonic level taking place, and it's a reorientation. That thing that's shifting underneath me is turning my point of view. The thing that is shifting underneath me, it is repositioning, right? In your notes. Baby girl, did you get him? You got him, okay. So as I dig deeper, I find myself reluctant and hesitant, resistant to the seismic, tectonic reorientation, repositioning taking place. Where is it taking place? Inside myself. Where is it taking place? Inside my religious concept. Where is it taking place? Inside my God concept. The way I see myself, the way I see true religion, and the way I see God is shifting now. And as I feel, I was like noticing the platelets moving as I'm in this favor, forgiveness, and the flow, I don't know if I like where it's going. Why? Because it's not in your notes that the contents that form my picture of Christ, the continents, it's not that the continents are drifting farther apart, that my picture of Christ is getting farther apart. That's when the picture of Christ gets farther apart, that's the long-working aim of weaponized religion. That's the long-working byproduct of weaponized religion. If I say aim, taking Christ apart, I think is the aim of weaponized religion. I think that is the aim of the religious systems and political systems co-opting the person of Christ, whose entire life and death was rooted in subversion of those religious and political systems, to take Christ as a national religious political figure and to nationalize and weaponize Christ, as was done within very short years of his death, to take that and to work that into the people as a means of furthering the structures, the power structures of the state and of religion. That to me is the aim of false religion. Maybe it's not the aim. Somebody says that's not the aim. That's the byproduct. Well, I'll give you that's a byproduct of false religion or weaponized religion. But I'm not talking about a shift that takes the picture of Christ and takes it farther apart, but rather the plates that form my picture of Christ, they're moving closer and closer together. They're moving. I want you to think of the continents, right? The continents that are there. They're not drifting farther apart. They're actually kind of going back to where they were, closer to their original position, closer to their intended position. And actually what's happening is that as I think on this favor, forgiveness, and the flow, it's that I have this picture of Christ that's retreating from a distortion of Christ, right? A distortion, which is I think what most of the world has, and it's retreating from a caricature. So well, that's him, but they've kind of exaggerated some features, and it's retreating from that and coming back into returning to proportion, returning to portraiture. Somebody say, why are you so urgent? Because I am I am regular Mike, and regular Mike cannot, Pastor Mike cannot be fully Mike, but regular Mike, either by intention or by stumbling into or by having spent so many years in it, he cannot shake this part of himself. But I am a pastor. I am a teacher. I am, I hate to use the word prophet. I am a seer. I am a mystic. I am whatever thing you want to use, either as a pejorative or as a compliment. Whatever it is, I'm telling you that the way I see Christ for a lot of years, going back early 2000s, I couldn't see it. Late 90s, I couldn't fit Christ within what I was being taught. And I don't mean what I was being directly taught by my pastors and leaders, what the church had been taught forever. And I spent 20 years breaking out of it and finally saying, I get it. I keep trying to put one hand Genesis and one hand Revelation and one hand Matthew and right foot Luke, and it doesn't work. That if you define God by the 66 books, you're going to always have that caricature. You're always going to have that distortion. But if you allow God to be the foundation upon which these religious texts were trying to build, and you allow that seismic return, you won't get to a distorted picture of Christ. You'll get to a distorted picture of false religion, but it'll actually be back to portraiture instead of caricature. And here I am again, just when you thought it was safe to get arrogant about the way you see. There's something deeper, and I share it with you. Remember, this is not only a change in how we see the world, but a new way of seeing ourselves, which is at once going to lead to beholding Christ in a new light, but it's actually springs from beholding Christ in a new light. So here we are, we're seeing from a new light into a new light, and how beautiful is that? Okay. Last week we talked about it. Traditionally, here in your notes, we think of favor as a designation of God's good hand. That God says, I choose you, I choose you, I choose you. And what do? So I sprinkle my little favor dust, and I put that on you. In your notes, that we think of it as favor as a designation of God's good hand. That we think of a favored individual or a group or a place or a nation that God has said, I see all the nations and I choose this one, or I choose these. You know, it's the United States, Israel, Great Britain, Australia, some parts of Australia. Not Great Britain, not as much anymore because a lot of the ethnic and religious shifts there, but they used to be favored. But you know, everybody can lose it. I mean, that's the demented way we thought of it, right? Singled out for what? An allotment of tangible kindness, that God's just going to sprinkle on this one and sprinkle on this one and sprinkle on this one. And we do this kind of anachronistically in our model. Well, we got about 5, maybe Canada's in there. You know, we got about 5 good nations, 5 sheep nations and a bunch of devil nations. And I think Singapore is coming along, and all those things that we get taught falsely in religion, and we do those with, without any respect for kingdoms that did not name Christ at all, and lasted for far longer than any of the current ones have said they've lasted, with the exception of Great Britain, which again in itself is a pagan nation, pagan foundations. And we perceive this kindness as either two things. We talked about it last week. First, cosmic. This is going in your notes. I'll go real quick later on. That there's a benevolent, fortuitous, direct, targeted wink, a winds of chance. Sometimes it's a wink too. That the cosmos, that God, that the universe just looks at us and blows some, a tricky southern wind. Was it blew some love in my direction? What is that? Moonlight seems right, whatever it is, that luck, right, in the parlance of the devil's crowd. But it's really goodness or blessing or favor. I got blessed with a good parking space. I got blessed with a good seat at the thing. I got blessed with a good day. I'm telling you, we can get that cosmic favor ideas down to, well, I was driving down the road and trying to loosen my load, and I had no air conditioning, and I was hot, and man, the sun was down, and I was just like, God, this is just tough. And right then a cloud moved in. What are we doing? We're perceiving the cosmos, the universe, on our side. And we call it in our speak. Somebody else says, well, that was lucky, that was fortuitous, that was benevolent. And you say, well, no, it's not just out there being flotsam and jetsam, shotgun, buckshot, or bird shot out everywhere. I feel targeted at me. The cloud wasn't for everybody else, the cloud was for me. And that sense of what we said last night, that things are going your way. Cosmic sense of favor. The second way we think of favor is the human sense. It's the same thing. It's benevolent, it's fortuitous, it's directed, it's targeted movements, the machinations among humankind. What is it? That we find ourselves the object of kindness in action. It's not just a parking spot or a cloud or a good seat or a good view or, my vacation got pushed off, but the leaves were still, I still got up there and they said there will be no fall leaves. The leaves were everywhere. And what do? We take it as cosmic. Am I good? We take it as cosmic. But then there's another side of it, which is what? The human side. Not that the cosmos, not that the universe, not that luck, not that something lucky happened to me targeted out of all humankind, but that, wow, we got up there and we were getting our movie tickets and the lady was there and she had all this merchandise. She said, hey, we have all this leftover stuff. You guys want all these drink glasses? You guys want all these? Well, look at that. What? A targeted kindness. A kindness in action can be a micro kindness, can be a macro kindness, can be just a little thing of, letting somebody get in front of you. The reason I'm laughing is we were on a boat, we were playing bingo. And I was the first in line to get the bingo ticket. And as I was the first in line, the person said, line up right in front of me. I'll be with you in a minute. I'm in line. And of course, people don't, and sometimes people from Europe, and, I love people from Europe, but there are people in Europe, we've been to Europe, where they don't queue up, not every European country queues up. They just press it. And this person, I think, was American, but they just kind of came and stood this. And I thought, my flesh was like, now look, you're messing with my bingo. Don't mess with my bingo. And then I thought, you know what? It's not that big of a deal. I said, no, go ahead, ma'am, go ahead. And she bought her, bingo pack, the $43 bingo pack, the exact same. The lady won like 4 of the 6 games. And I mean, the whole time Connie was side-eyeing me like, of all times for you to be super Christian, look what happened to you. It's true. Am I kidding? I'm not kidding at all. True story. And I sit there. I was Yosemite. Ooh, I hate that rabbit. I was so, but so now what's happening? Now here's what's happening. Think of this. From the cosmic side to me, I'm thinking, man, she got in the way of my luck. But on her side, she's over there, bingo, bingo. What's she thinking? Man, this nice man just let me in. So she felt targeted by this kind person, and she's feeling targeted by a kind person who let her in, human favor, and she's feeling she won 4 of the 6 games of bingo, cosmic favor. She's having the greatest day. Meanwhile, I'm at the buffet pounding bacon by the pound, rage eating because of the mean witch that stepped in front of me and messed with my luck. You understand now what I'm trying to get at. I hope you're catching what I'm saying. If cosmic favor is things are going your way, then you could marvel at cosmic favor, say, man, things are going my way. You could marvel at human favor, say, wow, people are going out of their way. Just people, just micro kindnesses and macro kindnesses. Okay, now we went over the manifestations list last week from Brother Savelle. As I mentioned, Brother Savelle had a working list of 10. I've expanded and massaged and studied out and reshaped that, and I passed that on. It's in last week's message, which we just got to upload. We have transcripts, and well, they aren't really transcripts. Pop, what would you call them? They're more. There's a transcript, but not a word for word. You can get. Well, it's transcribing. It's you'll see. But anyway, that's there. But now this leads. Catch this in your notes. A fundamental moment-to-moment question of true religion. Here's where this begins to shape. Here's where this begins to reposition. Here's the tectonic seismic shift. In your notes, this leads now to a fundamental moment-to-moment question of true religion. Once I lay this on you, here's now your obligation. Here's now the seed that is going to work in you. Question: what forms, dimensions, expressions of cosmic favor, of human favor? What forms, dimensions, expressions of cosmic favor, of human favor? And I know I shouldn't have my participle out. It's a participle slip. What forms, dimensions, expressions of cosmic human favor am I presently in possession of? And how do I best steward them? Human favor takes on form of many things. And that list that I gave you last week was the 14 things. They're very detailed. They're very broad. We might milk them some more and expand them to more. But what forms of that am I in possession of? What dimensions of that am I in possession of? What expressions of that am I? Cosmic favor. What? Just things just are falling my way. What forms of cosmic kindness am I in possession? And how do I steward them? Going deeper now in this question, here's for your notes. Or going deeper, what share do I have in the available cosmic and human favor in the world? I mean, there's favor in the universe, right? There's cosmic favor. There's human favor. Like I told you, the late, great Norm Macdonald, somebody tweeted out a tweet, happy Monday, just so you know, the universe doesn't have any compassion towards you. Make it a great week. It's a cold place, and they say it gets colder. And Norm Macdonald subtweeted and said, well, there's a kind of a fundamental flaw in your proposition there, in that I'm in the universe, I'm of the universe, and I have compassion for people that are hurting today. But we've gone out in every direction. We got the first photograph of the first star outside the Milky Way that we got. It's a blurry picture. It's an iPhone 1, but it's there, you know. And we got it. And you know, the thing's so blurry, you almost feel like the satellite went out and put the little black thing over his head, poofed it. I mean, it's that kind of blurry thing, you know. Listen, I'll just say this. The star is going to hate the picture when it sees it. You know, it takes about 17 million years to get the light there. But when it sees the picture, it's going to be like, oh, my gosh, that's the photo. Don't post that. Too late. It's viral. But we've been 100 million years in every direction and searching. There's not even a blade of grass. Not even an amoeba. Not a single-celled, living, reproducing organism. We found it in no direction, which means not only are only blades of grass that we know of right here, the only single-cell, multi-cell organisms we know of are right here, but all the cosmic kindness and human kindness of God is here. What share do you have? And it's just like you'd want to check your little investments every day. Oh, let me see my 401k. Let me see my 403b. Let me see my 401 kids. Let me see, you know, let me see my 5. What did I win any 5 white balls and a red ball? I mean, everybody has a different retirement plan. Real estate values, whatever it is you're banking on. You're not banking on that. You're trusting God beneath that. But you know, this is the source. This is the vehicle, right? What share do you have? Another question, not in your notes, but you can put it there. Or deeper, what share do I have? Here's another question you ask. This is a question of true religion. What disproportionate share do I have? Can you see that the plate, the continents just got a little closer together? You're not going to come out of this going, I got 14 things to believe God for. You're going to come out of this and go, oh, that's what Christ was talking about. And you're going to be so grieved. I don't want you to be angry at false religion. I don't want you to go bashing this church, that church, these church, that church. Listen, don't just finally stop drinking diet soda and then lecture everybody. You just got to the party. What you can do is share what it's doing in you with the same pitiful compassion upon others' blindness that others had on your blindness, that God has on all our collective blindness. I don't want to get into that. So you don't have to have this in your notes, but I was reading the book Moby Dick, and it's so cruel that they assign the book Moby Dick to 7th graders and 8th graders, which are complete. I mean, I can't even understand. I'm I'm a high school dropout, but I'm not the dumbest. I can read, and it's so well written and it's so beautiful, and of course some of it doesn't age well, but I mean, my God, some of the. I'm not going to say it. I'm going to be nice. But in there, he goes a whaling. And when he goes a whaling, he gets on the whaling ship. And the way the whaling ship is, we're going to go out and we're going to whale. Maybe jump, jive, and whale, for all I know. But they're going to whale. And where they're going to get the meat, and they're going to get the blubber, and they're going to get the oil, and they're going to get that. And they're going to bring it back, and they're going to sell it. And here's the deal. Everybody on the ship, for the 6 months we're out, or the 4 months we're out, you got a place to sleep, and you get all the shrimp you can want. Well, that's pretty good. I got no overhead. Yep. And when we sell everything, we're going to break it up, and you get a share. So you get they say we're dividing everything up into 762 pieces. So if we bring in $10,000, we're dividing that up in 762 pieces. How many pieces of that do you have? Well, I'm a deck swabber, so I only got 9 pieces. So what I'm hoping for is I get 762, right? 9, and I'm hoping we get so much whale and so much blubber and so much oil that my 9. Well, guess what? The person that was harpooning the stuff, he's not getting 9, he's getting 27 of Tuesday. So, and well, what about the person driving the ship? Well, my God, she's the one that knows where to go and to find where the pods are running. Well, she's getting 61 out of that. What share do you have? Out of all the available goodness in the cosmos, out of all the available goodness that exists, it exists right here, so far as we know, on this blueberry floating in the middle, and it is divided. If it was equally divided, it would be you would have 7.5 billionth of all the goodness in the world. Now ask yourself, what share do you have? What disproportionate share do you have? You don't have to have this in your notes, but I'll tell you this. At the richest part of your life, what was your disproportionate share? At the poorest part of your life, what was your disproportionate share? This is the moment-to-moment question of true religion. Not, how do I get forgiveness? Did I say the right thing? What happens if I die when I'm a sinner? What happens if I believe the wrong team? What happens? That's the false religion. That perpetuates and propels and perverts and subjects and subdues and supports warfare and supports violence and supports inequity. That's all the questions of false religion. Those are the very questions that had Christ killed. But the reason Christ was killed was he was asking people, not in the weaponized version of the scriptures, but in the boiled down version of the scriptures. All things point to the same question. Look at your life, consider your disproportionate share of favor, and act accordingly. For that is salvation. Here's something for your notes. Keep in mind, all favor is tangible, but it's not all material. All favor is tangible. It's a tangible good. It's a tangible commodity, but it's not all material. I was going to say tangible material, the same thing. No, I mean tangible in the sense that there is a visceral effect of its presence or its absence, but that presence or absence is not all material in nature versus material, immaterial, right? You get what I'm saying. As you evaluate your share of the favor, your disproportionate share at your life's richest and best and life's weakest and poorest, as you evaluate that, consider what must be the mean, median, and mode. Medium and mode. Is it median? Median. Okay, yeah. You don't have to have this in your notes. Okay, now the mean is the middle, and what's the song? Hey, diddle, diddle. The median's the middle. You add and divide for the mean. The mode is the one that appears most. And the range is the difference between. Yeah, there you go. Don't say you didn't learn nothing at church. Somebody said I couldn't even hear you. It doesn't matter. You have to consider your Don't say, well, I don't have no money. Well, hang on. Think of where the mean, median, and mode is, right? Of material wealth among the 7.5 billion of us. Think on the micro and the macro. Here we go. In your notes, it's coming now, fast. We've got to move on. Consider the seemingly we're talking cosmic favor. Let's just break this down. Cosmic favor on the micro and the macro, right? Consider the seemingly, in your notes, seemingly predetermined, what the scriptures call the boundaries of your habitation. It says over in the book of Acts that God has set before God started, he established the bounds of each individual's habitation, where they would go. I don't know if that's how we would interpret the scripture in line with the person of Christ, but let's just go there. When we talk about the bounds of your habitation, I'm asking you to consider the base favorable elements of your present station, of your life station. What do you mean the base favorable elements? In your notes, consider the seemingly predetermined boundaries of your habitation. What do I mean? Consider about your life the base favorable elements, cosmic favorable elements that are in your life. Or rather, here's the question: consider the who, what, where, when, and why of your life. God. Who are you? Where were you born? What were you born to? When were you born? I mean, all of those things are huge. Listen, if you were born with a heart condition in a major city in America with a massive NICU intervention surgery unit, that's a totally different thing being born in that in 2020, in 2022 or whatever, 2024. If you're born there, that's a totally different thing to being born 10,000 miles out into some rural place back in 1684. I mean, think of just the base cosmic favor of who you are, what you are, the not who you are, but the who in your life, the what in your life, the where in your life, the when in your life, and the why of your life. Oh, man. Talking to a dear, precious member this past week, she blessed me. She didn't tell me I could say this, but I'm going to say it because I feel safe enough in our relationship. She said she was in 5th grade, and the substitute teacher came in, and the substitute teacher said to everybody, to the class, the 5th grade class, and what do you think about this? Hey, how many of you were born in love? And she said, I knew I came from love. I raised my hand. I was born from love. And he said, well, everybody, go home and ask your family tonight, were you born in love? And I think, what kind of sick, I mean, this is some sick, twisted stuff, right? This is a substitute teacher. He ain't substituting no more. Oshak Hennessy. Curlish, A.A. Ron. She said, I went home and I ran in excited. Mom, I was told to ask, was I born in love? And she said, my mother looked at me and said, no. I prayed to God I wasn't pregnant. Found out I was pregnant. Prayed to God that the pregnancy would end inside my belly. When the pregnancy didn't end, I did not want a daughter. I wanted a son. And she said, I just let you know you were a disappointment on every dimension. This is age 10. Now here's the wild part. When you look at the cosmic who, what, where, when, why of your life, that's why I put the why in. Why did you even come about? Some people came about because we were really hoping to have a baby and we didn't care. We loved it. And other people, there was rage in utero, resentment in utero. But all of that is part of the micro and macro allocations of cosmic goodness. Every one of them tangible, not every one of them material. But here's the great thing about it. Talking to this woman, you would say, oh my gosh, if that's the why that brought your existence around, if you were rage pushed out into this world, the final push was you weren't born so much as you fell out, right? But if you ask this woman to take stock of her life, in our conversation, this rich, beautiful conversation where we both just praise God together, she can see how good God has been. I don't see how anything good can come out of the Y of that. Then you're not truly considering your share. You know, of all the cosmic favor, the human favor, the tangible, yet not always material allocation of favor, cosmic and human, that exists among the 7.5 billion of us is not equally distributed. And each person that goes up the line with a little extra means somebody down there has a little less. But remember, it's not all material, because some people may say, "Woo, look at me! I'm way up here in the material wealth and whatever." But I'm in no position. I mean, listen, doesn't matter if you're a millionaire or a billionaire. When the nurse is the one standing there, right? The nurse making $37.50 or $57.50 an hour. When the nurse is when the urgency and compassion of the nurse, or the nurse just to stop and think for a second and say, "Did you say you were on this? Or have you ever tried?" I mean, inside information comes to you in a way that $10 million could never buy. A good exercise for us, for you, for me, might be, I don't even know if you're out there with me. I feel like I've lost you. A good exercise might be how your life might be better or worse. This is a good question in your notes. Here's a good exercise coming into your notes. How might your life be better or worse by changing the tiniest detail in the who of your life, the what of your life, the where of your life, the when of your life, the why of your life? I heard a comedian talking about racism, and he said, people, this is a white comedian. He's basically, his point was, people say there's no racism. And he says, I'll tell you how you know there's racism. He says, you can go back pretty much any time in the history of the world and be born white and be like, yeah, it's a pretty good time to be born. He says, that is not the same truth, to be somewhere else. And of course, that's not historically true. The great African empires, right? And the empires of the East, the Near East, the Far East, the Southeast, right? The empires of the Mid East. So, I mean, the African empire, the Northern African empires, the Sub-Saharan African empires. I mean, there's a lot of times, there's a lot of wins when it would have been great to be born in that place. Then there are other times it would be terrible to be born in that place, right? I mean, the way you identify disparity is pretty simple. You take the guiding principle. The guiding principle is that the outcome of most individuals' lives rest entirely, solely on their actions, what they do, what they choose, their education, their drive, their commitment, their work ethic, their honesty, blah, blah, blah. That's the greatest determining factor for every life. Red, yellow, brown, black, white, rich, poor. The greatest thing that's going to have an effect on that person tomorrow is the decisions they make today. Do those decisions tend towards thriving, or do those decisions tend towards destruction? And that is the great, and that is part of our dominion, right? That is part of our dominion. We must know that, because if that's not the world we lived in, and there was no a way to assert our will upon our circumstances, not even the micro tiniest place where we could choose to respond to it, then we would have nothing at all. So that is the universal truth, that the greatest thing that's going to affect your life, my life, my quality of life, your quality of life, each individual, no matter where you come from, the greatest thing that's going to affect your life, of your outcome tomorrow, the greatest factor, the most actionable factor, is what you choose to do today. That is reality. Now, the second question, is that equally true for everybody? Red, yellow, brown, black, white, male, female, etc. Well, it's true for everybody, but it's not equally true where we live. Well, now all of a sudden you're getting to a conversation. A good exercise, how might your life be better or worse, changing the tiniest detail? I mean, think of the little girl that comes home. Mom, was I conceived in love? What if the answer was conceived in love? Are you kidding me? You're a miracle, a prayer. I wanted a little girl my whole life, and when I saw you, my whole face lit up, and I said, man, God is good. If you never do nothing else for me, I mean, can you imagine the difference in that outcome? Here's a great exercise. We did a good exercise. Here's a great exercise in your notes. I'm going to be shutting it down soon, because it's a lot, I know. Here's a great exercise. How many of these expressions of favor, right? These elements of favor, or how much of this was not at all, in your notes, was not at all targeted by God. Think of this. What if the who in your life and the what in your life and the where in your life and the why in your life, that's cosmic, was not at all targeted by God, but simply came about by the non-specific, non-targeted, collateral dealings and choices of humankind? That what if it was not, God wanted you to have the super awesome rich doctor parent in the private schools, or God wanted you to have the great artistic parents that celebrated your art instead of making you become an accountant or whatever it is. I mean, what if had nothing to do with God? How much of the allocation, how much of the goodness, the favor, the cosmic allotment has nothing to do with God's will at all, but just humans going about interacting, and every interaction they're connecting and bumping each other, and the favor dust, the cosmic dust, is falling randomly, right, in people's lives. That is this, in your notes, what cosmic advantage has come to you? What cosmic disadvantage, coming very quickly in your notes, has come to you individually? Wow, I've had some advantages and disadvantages come to me individually that I don't think God said, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. I just think that this is human beings bumping into each other and knocking things over, and sometimes the tree fell away from the house, and sometimes the tree fell on the house. What cosmic advantage or disadvantage has come to you individually? Or has come to us individually, us tribally, has come to us geographically. In your notes, individually, tribally, geographically. I'm making up a word. It's what I do. It's my show, TV Funhouse. Give me back my show. Dispensationally. That because of you, you're born with great physical strength. Because you're born with great physical beauty. Because of who you are, you're born with great physical smarts. Or tribally, because of who you belong to. You happen to belong to a place that in this particular, you happen to belong to a tribe that's having an up season. Geographically, you happen to have been born into a place. It's not that God set you in a place and says, I'm going to set you in sub-Saharan Africa in the late 80s famines, right? Or I'm going to set you in the richest fertile crest. I mean, I'm not, in Samaria, right, 4000 BC. It's just, where did you happen to be born? Well, where you happen to be born was two people got together and you survived long enough inside the womb, and the woman survived long enough to give birth, and the birth gave, and you survived birth, and you survived childhood, and you go to an old graveyard and you look at how many kids there are. I mean, people had 7 kids hoping to hold on to 5. I mean, that's the reality of it, but you just happen to be born in a place to a group in a time when it was either advantageous or limiting, and it seems to be, or maybe it's arguably, all at random. Or it was actually brought about by human will, whether the people meant it to be an advantage of you or a disadvantage or not. Somebody says, what are you doing to us, Pastor Mike? I'm saying this entire assignment is take stock of you. All right, God, I should have a 7.5 billionth share in the cosmic and human good of the world. But God, I think I got a higher than that share. I'll tell you this, if you are hearing me speak in English and you are understanding me in English as either as a primary or secondary language, you've had some cosmic and human favor come your way. Are you saying there is something wrong with French or Spanish? Not at all. Spanish, you're doing pretty good too. Chinese, you're doing pretty good too. But for a long time in this world, English has been the language to understand, to be able to interact with the most diverse business, economic, and educational cultures in the world. A guy told me last week, what do you call a person that speaks 2 languages? Bilingual. What do you call a person that speaks 3 languages? Trilingual. He says, what do you call a person that speaks only 1 language? American. Which, again, is not really the truth, but it's funny. We're familiar with talking about the idea of innocence, right? Mankind being innocent. You don't have to have this in your notes, but you can, I guess. Innocence, original wounding, right? That Adam and Eve, right, in the story, right, the narrative and the mythos, Adam and Eve were innocent. Why? Because they were unwounded. Our idea of original sin is Adam messed up and God had to punish him, and because Adam had us inside his testicles, right? Because we were inside Adam's loins, all of us got cursed at the same time. That's the false religion. But the true religion is that is a narrative, mythical idea that there was a time in which humanity was unwounded, but ever since that wounding and that loss of innocence, that there's been nobody that was not wounded or fully innocent since. That's a higher way to think about it. We're in the Christ-centered concept, far away from weaponized religion. Tribalized, it's supposed to be my autocorrect. I'm going to close here. So when I get you to start thinking of these things about the seeming randomness of the who and the what and the where and the when of our lives and the why of our lives, we start taking stock of, okay, there's 7.5 billion people here. I rank mean, median, and mode somewhere in there in the material, the non-material, the geographical, the non-geographical, the tribal, or whatever. And I would say, wow, I see on this where I wasn't exactly born to the best with the best physical, the best emotional, the best financial, the best familial, the best this. But my God, I've also seemed to have developed this, and this, and I do have favor. I mean, so you look at all the cosmic base favor and all the human favor and where you started and where you are and where you were at your peak and where you are at your low. And at your peak, you were never at the peakiest. And at the low, you were never at the lowest, but when you take stock of it, you go, I don't think I'm quite in the middle. Matter of fact, Pastor, listening to you, I think I might be in the upper third. Now all of a sudden, we're getting close to true religion. So this reshuffles, in your notes very quickly, this reshuffles the idea of generational blessing and cursings. Oh, you're, a generational blessing, generational curse. And now we think, well, we know what the Scripture says, but the Scriptures were people feeling after something that they didn't really understand. But now in Christ, we have the clarification, right? That these curses of blessings are not all, in your notes, active visitation that God says, oh, you did me a solid here. I'm going to go check out your great-grandchildren and give them a high five. Or you did me wrong here. I'm going to go check out your great-grandchildren and put them in a car wreck. That's a satanic idea. Or the third, fourth generation, or even 1,000 generations. None of that is true about generational blessing or cursing. But now we can get to it deeper and say, okay, what were they trying to say in the Hebrew Scriptures? What were they trying to counteract in the Christian Scriptures? It's this, that they were trying to give voice to they were acknowledging that some of today's advantage came out of previous generations. Some of today's disadvantage came out, right, I'm disadvantaged here. Why? Because of what I've been born to, the tribal, the time, the place, the dispensation, the who. Oh man, I'm really advantaged here. Why? Because of the tribal. That's what they were acknowledging that reality upon the earth, but they had misunderstood it. They put the emphasis on the wrong syllable. But what they were looking at is they were looking at the outworking in your notes of individual cosmic allocations, tribal cosmic allocations, geographical cosmic allocations, dispensational cosmic allocations. I mean, if you were born in one of the great African kingdoms and you happen to be born in West Africa in a great African kingdom, 1,000 years ago, that was a great time to be from West Africa. Well, if it was 100 years ago, that might not be the best time. Somebody say, what are you trying to say about West Africa? I'm trying to say that there is thriving there, that even there at that time, at their lowest, there was an allocation of cosmic and divine favor, but by the machinations of men, that geography, that time, that place, that tribal, that connection was disadvantaged by the activities of man, probably intentionally, but certainly not caused by God. But I'm saying to you, being born in 1860 versus 1960 versus being born in 1950 versus 2002, all of those have a different place depending on where you were born. I mean, you can imagine being born in New York in 1859 versus being born in Biloxi in 1859. You can imagine what those two things would be like. That's red, yellow, brown, black, and white. You can see the disadvantage and the advantage to that kind of thing. And then put it 5 years later. Well, it was never even. We're not talking about equality. We know we have not yet dealt with the fullness of equality. We have acknowledged that baseline inequality that is still perpetual. But I'm saying if you shifted a little bit of the when, where, and how might it have gotten to you? And it's not God saying, well, you're being punished. Your great ancestors worship false gods, or your great uncle was a child pornographer, so now God's got to get your cousin. And I mean, that's all all demonic. But what we can say is how much of the livings of the peoples of the world today, yours, mine, ours, are affected by dominoes that came that had no tipping of our own. Maybe I've said too much. So now imagine how the randomness and blindness of this cosmic favor, this Sahara sand that finds itself in the Amazon River, that floats on the Forrest Gump feather winds, right? The randomness and the blindness in your notes of this cosmic favor, how that sets it up. The random who, why, to whom, to how, to where, to what, that I was born into at this time, at this place. I mean, my God, being a woman is rough now. Being a woman is not equal to being a man now, but being a woman in 2024, probably a little bit different than being a woman in 1924. So you saying we're done? Not even close to done. Not even close to equal. We must continually strive for the equal. Not equal outcomes, we strive for equal opportunity. But you measure the equalness of the opportunity if you're finding tribal or gender variables in the outcome, right? You're trying to find, you measure the base by evaluating the fruit, right? You measure the root by evaluating the fruit. But imagine how this random blindness of this cosmic favor actually establishes a foundation. It sets a trajectory. It frames the dynamics of human favor, which is what? The who, when, where, why, and how of I'm born, that you're standing here talking to me. You say, well, I don't come from the same background you have. I agree. I don't come from the same background you have. I agree. My daddy and mommy weren't good. Well, my daddy was divorced. My daddy drank, my mommy beat. Everybody comes to it. They inherit it cosmically, and then the human factor takes over, and we've been walking in human factors, and whose jobs got thing, and who had friends and who didn't, and whose best friend died, and who was in a marriage, and whose mom was a great mom until they lost the child in miscarriage and she became. Everybody's got the dominoes flowing. But wherever you've ended up, you may not have started where I started, or I started where you had, or didn't catch as many good cards as you did, and I didn't catch as many good. But it has now today, November 24th, placed us among the 7.5 billion. Where do you stand? Where do I stand? Because the cosmic, non-intentional, non-determined has established the present, and from this present now we get to occupy ourselves with the practice of true religion. What share, or what disproportionate share, do I possess? In your notes, that the chance cosmic factors, I'm just giving it to you because I don't want to cheat you. The chance cosmic factors that determine each person, each tribe, each region, each generation in this world. There are factors that have nothing to do with us, that humans are knocking balls. I mean, they're just punching random things in the air, and those things are bouncing around the world and bouncing over time, right? Long consequences. That these chance cognitive factors, think of how they determine how each person, tribe, region, generation of the world is situated. How we're all situated because of all these bouncing balls, and that situation becomes the basis for every non-chanced circulation of human favor in the economy of people kind, mankind, womankind, humankind. Here I am. They rolled the dice. The dice have landed me here. Been a lot of cosmic things, a lot of human things that have brought me today, but now I am here, and the basis of which I will exercise the human expressions of favor today are the result of all the cosmic and human things that have befallen me to this point. Many of my own doing, but here I am. And how do I practice true religion? Last note. This spiritual awareness. See, Brother Savelle was on to something, and he taught both sides of this, but of course it came from weaponized religion. he taught, go out into the world, and when you get a parking spot, don't say it's lucky, say it's the favor of God. When somebody tells you keep the change, you say, oh, that's not lucky, that's the favor of God. He taught us to be conditioned to the sensitivity of cosmic and human favor coming our way, and that's very healthy. But Brother Savelle was a good man. He built on an Antichrist foundation, but he's a good man. Like I was, like so many of us was, like the church as far back as we could know it, but we'd have to go back to the Catholic lowercase c church before we would even know even something close to God. But keep in mind, the followers of Christ in the earth didn't have it all. The followers of Christ after his death and resurrection didn't have it all. Even the apostles of Christ. I mean, we were coming into truth. So we may have never fully approached this truth. We may just be finally coming into this truth. But Brother Savelle, on an Antichrist foundation, taught, be sensitive about the cosmic, and these are not his words, I'm not putting his words, but how the forms of cosmic and human favor, expressions coming from the Treasury Department, all cosmic favor, all human favor comes from the Treasury Department. It all says God on it, but God didn't give it to us directly. It's befallen us through the machinations of humankind. But he said, look, be sensitive to whenever you see it. Don't call it luck. Acknowledge the favor. But then he said, look, but don't only go through life looking to see who has the favor. Go through life, Brother Savelle said, seeking to be the favor. So wrong foundation, Antichrist conclusion, but the essence, just like the scriptures that we've inherited, the Hebrew scriptures and the Christian scriptures, they have a wrong foundation, they have a wrong application, they have a wrong conclusion, but hidden in the deception is the truth. So this spiritual awareness in your notes, this conditioned sensitivity, cosmic favor, human favor, how much has befallen me at my lowest and my highest? Where am I in the 7.5 billion today? Having a spiritual awareness of this, a conditioned sensitivity to this, is the central aim in our religious life. It is the central aim in our relationship with God. And I'll end right here. What I'm teaching you about how to end this message and step into your living room or step into your gym class, or you're listening on the road, and how to get that car and put it in park and walk into that place that you're going to, the Walmart or wherever it is you're going to, and how to walk through the world. I'm talking to you about how to walk through the world. It's developing a sensitivity to the cosmic and human favor that you are in possession of. What is your share? It's not 7.5 billion share. You have a greater share than that. My God, if you're watching me on a $1,500 telephone over internet that's piped into your house, or a car driving down, I mean, just count the ways. Developing a sensitivity to that and a spiritual awareness of that is the central aim of what we're doing if we say we're religious. It's not being on the right team and making sure we have a chair when the music stops. That's the false religion. But this, I believe so much that I think it should become, if not the primary in your notes, so much so that it would not become, maybe not the primary, but I'm saying maybe the primary, but at least a primary subject of contemplative prayer. That our meditations are not, God, I want to be right with you, so I don't want to be mad, and just forgive me for everything, and God, that's not our meditations. Our meditations are, God, condition in me a sensitivity. Breed in me a spiritual awareness. The Department of Treasury has put out into the cosmos tangible goodness. Not always material, but it is tangible. Each person is in possession. Proportional or disproportional. I mean, maybe we could find one person on planet Earth that occupies the theoretical middle. We might be able to find that. I don't know. But I seriously doubt you're in the middle. Lord, make me sensitive, make me aware of how the cosmic has set the basis and the framing of the human, and how that's put me here today. God, help me walk through life sensitive and aware. You want to talk about a prayer of consecration and devotion to God? That's your prayer right there. I ain't got no money. See, you didn't hear anything that I said. I'm not asking you to weigh your share of troubles, because that's not actionable. I'm asking you to weigh your share of goodness and richness. Because that's how, think of it again, it's been stolen from us, but it's right there. The widow with the mite did more than all. Because she was not operating from a place of her disadvantage. She was operating from a place of recognition of the good fortune that had befallen her. God told me one time, not one time, he told me this past week, he said, Pastor, you remember when you said that if all you got is money problems, that's the least bad problems to have? Think of that. Think of that. I ain't got no money. If that's your only problem, get in line on the $7.5 billion. Tell me who you want to trade places with. Only one I want to trade places with is one that has more money. Well, when you trade that place, just be careful you're not giving up some richness that you have that's not material in that trade. But forget everybody else in line. Where are you? Father, help me be sensitive. Condition me to be aware. Why? Because that's the practice of true religion. That's all we got. If you're getting something, your support means everything to us. You know, we'll gladly send you the link. Someone say, you're going to kick me off? A person wrote this week, I can't support you. I supported you 2 months ago. I can't support you now. Don't kick me off. We're not kicking anybody off. We just, you don't, one day I'll share the horrible profanity-filled cursing messages we get just by saying, a part of me wants a screen capture and just send it to you so you can put it out on the thing, but I don't even want to give dignity to the horrible threats and stuff that we've gotten. The only reason we say support is don't just show up here to take and to criticize. Show up here to say, this is changing me, and I'm not just going to take, I'm going to support, and just think of the Gospels, right? He was going out teaching everywhere, doing anything, and it says those women band together, and they said, we're going to take care of him, and Jesus ain't going to worry about nothing. We got him. He ain't never going to go to Taco Bell and not have 69 cents to get that, special gordita they're bringing back from the 90s. If you're getting value. You're just trying to get money. I can't believe you'd make the gospel conditional and people have to pay to get it. You devil from hell. You know that is not true at all. I'm not conditioning the gospel. First of all, the gospel, if I thought everybody was going to hell, if they didn't have my information, I could never say if you're getting value. But I don't believe everybody's going to hell if they don't have my information. That's straight from the pit of hell. I'm just saying this. If it blesses you, just let us know. You would not imagine how it keeps us going. But really, what is this church about? It's about this message, right? God, help me see, help me act, and help me create a community of people who are like, I'm not in weaponized religion. Man, I'm stumbling into the true stuff. The continents are reshaping back to their original thing. I'm no longer in a caricature of Christ. I'm starting to see the portraiture of Christ. Yeah, and when you see, you can't help but become the true body. What? The ongoing embodiment. What does it say in Acts 10? God anointed Jesus of Nazareth with the Holy Ghost and power, and he went about doing good and healing all who were harassed by the devil. That's true religion right there, isn't it? And that's what we are. Oh, the empowerment of good in our life to go out and do good and bring healing. And it don't take much in a world that kicks and spits and scratches and just devalues and divides us. It don't take much to walk into a place and just be love right there in the room. Try to do it every day of our lives. That's all I got. I've kept you long enough. I made you late. I kept you late. I love you more than, almost as much as your dog loves you. Peace, health, protection, preservation, soundness, abundance, aboveness on each one. God, I'm trying my best, God, to get this out. The ministry of angels, cosmic and human favor, pass to them and through them. Oh, we give you praise. Help us, Lord. In Jesus' name. Amen. I love you. Make it a great week. I got stuff to do. God bless you. Just Connie and I and my whole family. Love you.